Like, our grandparents fought and died for the freedom of the world, and we're bitching about Star Wars.
Welcome to another episode of The Illustrious Gentleman, the place where comic book artists and top blokes Scott Godlewski and Ryan Cody talk about life, work, comics, and booze.
Oh, yeah. Some people use Gain to, like, wash their clothes. I use generic because why support big
big laundry detergent?
Mm-hmm. This is episode 147 of The Illustrious Gentleman. That's the podcast that Scott over there and I co-host. Yep, you can listen to all of our episodes at anchor.fm/TIG show. Or any of those big podcatcher sites. Castbox is an app I just downloaded. I listen to my podcast now on Castbox.
Castbox. I also use that.
Do you? So
yeah.
So you can listen to the episode on Castbox.
It's fine.
On the Anchor app, on Google Play, on Apple Podcasts, which used to be iTunes, Stitcher, and Spotify. If you enjoy the show, you can leave us a review. Tell your friends about it. Just do something. You know what? Like, go to the Patreon, kick us $1, or
do something.
Give us a shout out.
Just do something.
Yeah, just tell people about it. Go stand on the
do it.
Go stand on the corner.
Just do it.
Go stand on the corner, and then when cars pull up, be like, I'm not asking for money. I just want to tell you about something, and then they'll probably give you money anyways. So you can make a little coinage by supporting the show. Yeah. Patreon backers can suggest topics, which we are in desperate need of all the time, and they could recommend what they want us to drink, which is also good. And you can follow the show on all social media. Well, not on all social media, on Twitter and Instagram at TIG_show.
Do a service. Go knock door to door. Do you have a minute for me to tell you about the illustrious gentleman? Today, I'm doing Hoegaarden, the original Belgian wheat beer. It comes very highly recommended. So I have high hopes.
There's a problem with it right from the jump, and that's the word Belgian in the title.
Now, the bottle comes with instructions on the back on how to pour it. So step 1 is chill. So I've already refrigerated it. Step 2, pour 2/3.
This is ridiculous. This is like a bottle for dummies.
Into the glass. So we're going to do 2/3 here.
Jesus Christ, it's like elephants upstairs. Like rhinoceroses.
There we go.
Well, that's a big head.
What's step 3, swirl. I'm supposed to swirl the last third in the bottle. Yeah, my head's a little intense here.
Yeah, to get all the garbage out of the bottom, you want to make sure you get that into your beer.
Mm-hmm. I really can't do it. I got to wait for my head to go down.
You usually don't use those words.
Too excited.
You usually don't use those words in that order.
All right.
Stick your dirty fingers in there.
Or can I do it? Can I make it?
Oh, I
made it.
You could fit it in.
Like a fucking pro.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Yeah. Top off and enjoy. Enjoy is the last direction.
Well, we'll be the judge of that.
Well, it smells like a wheat beer.
I bet it.
That's for sure.
I bet it does.
Wheat beer brewed with spices, coriander, and orange peel. It's very pale. Very pale. Mm-hmm. Well, we'll see.
It's going to have that Lunchables juice flavor to it because it's a Belgian. And I know that because...
I can't believe the color. The color is... it's unappetizing. It looks like watered-down piss.
My pregame beer, which... hydrated pee. My pregame beer, I promised myself I wouldn't pregame as much as last week because I think last week might have been a problem. So I'm having one pregamer... But it has the word. It's you know how people get triggered, right? So I get triggered when I see the word Belgian on my beer. I'm also starting to get triggered when I see the term farmhouse ale, because a farmhouse ale is just the American way of saying a Belgian style. So I bought these beers on sale. Farmhouse Ale, I'm not even going to name them, but Farmhouse Ale with lime and agave. And they were just cheap, so that's why I got them. And it's got that Lunchables juice flavor to it with no lime and no agave. But, I mean, they're easy drinking enough. All right, let me open my tableside cooler here. So I went to the store this morning to get a beer for the show, and I wanted a porter or stout because it's winter and you think they would be in abundance.
Okay.
Sorry. You would think they'd be in abundance. It's winter stouts or winter beers. I live somewhere there's like literally snow on the ground.
About that.
Nobody gives a shit. So there was a very small supply of individual cans that were stouts or porters. So what I did was I went with a beer that I haven't had in a long time, many years in fact. I got the Santan Sex Panther Double Chocolate Porter for Chandler, Arizona. I know I've had this, but it's been a while.
Works 60% of the time, 100% of the time.
That's right. 6.9%. Let's see. And it must be an old can because I think Santan just redid all their label art and everything. So this must be an old can. Whatever. 6.9 ABV. I do have some Beer Advocate Theater.
Oh, yeah, I did too, that I neglected to read.
Well, why don't you do yours and then I'll roll into mine, and then that way I only have to drop the Beer Advocate Theater audio in once.
Oh, great.
Right, so why don't you give me a sign when you're done, and I'll just start right after you.
Okay. This is from Sarah Bear. Whatever.
Sounds fun.
Take a sip and allow yourself to be transported to a bustling terrace on the first day of spring. The forsythia that lines the plaza is always early to bloom, its subtle bouquet mingling with hints of the pipe tobacco preferred by older generations. You take your time savoring the fresh flavor of ripe kumquats in a bowl on the table, served with langues de chez biscuits and a creamy coriander spice dip on the side. It's a rare opportunity to reconnect with the sunshine as well as your neighbors. 3.75.
All right. Jares Devil 2000 gave it a 3.82 out of 5 for the Santan Sex Panther Double Chocolate Porter. Had this on tap at the Blue Hound in Phoenix before the Suns game I went to last week. This was good and filling, unlike the tiny portions that constituted my dinner. I wanted something local for my beer there, and thankfully this was available. It wasn't as filling as other porters that I had had before, but this was a great choice and a nice offering from Santan that held its own easily. It felt like a Scotch ale since there was some stickiness to it, although the chocolate fit in well with this. It felt out of place since this was a porter. Makes no sense. It's Jares Devil. Thankfully, this was creamy enough with a low amount of carbonation, allow it to go down nice and smoothly.
A little sticky, creamy.
Went down smoothly. We got to. I wonder how many people listen to this podcast and just get turned off by the amount of cussing.
Oh, it's 100%.
And the amount of sex jokes. Because when I was editing,
100%.
When I was editing last week's episode, I was actually ashamed of myself how much I was cussing. Like I actually edited out like 7 or 8 fuckings. Not like fuck, I'm upset about something, but just like, oh, this fucking mouse and that fucking
just in casual
yeah,
conversation.
just I gotta think of better adjectives.
Doesn't science say that people who swear are smarter or
if
just overall better? You're just better in some way.
Yeah, well, if that's the case,
yeah, I screwed that up.
There's
trustworthy or some garbage.
Right. I mean, if that's the truth, then I'm the Einstein of my desk. I don't know.
Fucking people.
Yeah. Like, I'll cuss out loud at home when there's no one else home. Like, I'll just be like, I'll look at the sink and I'll be like, motherfucker. Or like, no one's there to hear it except me. Like, it's just one of my cats. So yeah, I got to hold it down this time. I cursed way too much last episode. Even though I think this episode might fire me up, I'm going to try to hold it down.
All right.
One quick note before we get started. Shout out to Rico Renzi at nolongermint.com. He had a sale on a t-shirt on Monday for Cyber Monday, so I bought it. It's the MODOK with Marilyn Monroe's face, so it's like Marilyn Monroe doc or whatever. It was on sale, and I had this thing. My kids in the family bathroom, wherever we live, wherever the bathroom is, that's like the guest bathroom or the main bathroom. I have a framed photo of Marilyn Monroe in it, so I thought it was go with that sort of theme. And I ordered it on Monday, and I got it yesterday. So Rico ain't fucking around when it comes to shipping either, or the printer, whoever had it.
Wow.
But I put it on, and I was too fat for it, right? Like I usually wear larges, and this was a little tight. So I was feeling bad about myself and shit. Yelling at myself in the mirror last night before I went to bed. And then so this morning I go to Walmart, and I just wear sweatpants to Walmart because I'm feeling like shit anyways. And then after I left Walmart, I felt better about myself. Like I was in sweatpants at Walmart, and I was a 9. I was like a Walmart 9 up in that bitch with like sweatpants and a hoodie.
All right.
A hoodie.
It was, I'm better than this, not these are my people.
Yeah, no, I'm slumming it, and I'm wearing a hoodie and sweatpants, and I'm the one slumming it. Right. Okay, so I just wanted to pat myself on the back there a little bit. All right, Scott, I'm going to let you set the table for this, but I do want to say one thing about this before I want to set the table of the kind of person who made this video. Just something I picked up on.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Okay, I went on to his Twitter page because he's very popular, so I went on his Twitter page.
Okay.
So whatever he says in this video we're about to talk about, and I'll put the link to the video in the show notes. He has an Etsy-made Baby Yoda ornament on his tree that is not Disney or Disney approved. It's a black market item.
Yeah.
And he does not credit the Etsy store that he bought it from or credit the Twitter account of the person who made it, and he has like 13,000 followers. So I'm sure that Etsy store could have used
a mother humping hypocrite.
Could have used a little bump. So this is the kind of dude we're dealing with. He also claims to be a lawyer. Okay. So
yeah. Yes.
Okay. So please set the table, Scott, because this was we didn't know what we were going to talk about, and then I woke up to a
just
YouTube.
Like Charlie.
Yeah.
On Sunny. Yeah.
And I woke up to this link you sent, and I watched the video, and it actually enraged me, and I don't think it enraged me in the way that it should have enraged me.
Okay. I think it probably upset you the same way it upset me, though.
Okay, cool. So set the table for us while I drink.
In our infinite struggle to come up with show topics, I just happened to come across this YouTube video the other day from Eckhart's Ladder. That's his YouTube handle. It's called Marvel Stole Every Capital Starship for Their Latest Star Wars Comics from Fan Designs. And so it's like a 20-minute video, but he goes on to detail how, I don't know if it's over the course of a specific issue, I don't remember now, or it's a collection of books.
It's let me jump in real quick. It's a 4-issue, I think, miniseries.
Okay.
And I don't know if you researched the artist. I wasn't going to name the comic artist. I don't know. Okay.
No, I wasn't going to name the artist. I'll call out the YouTuber, though.
Right.
Yeah, so it's one artist over a number of issues. Okay.
Yeah.
Using reference. Okay, maybe we ought to set up that word, too.
Yes.
Sampling images from the internet into the artwork, specifically spaceships and garbage, stuff that's tedious and boring to draw.
Right. So I look at reference in 3 ways. There's reference you look at, and then you look at it and you draw without just by looking at it.
That's what I would term as reference. Okay.
And then there's the next level, which is you shoot your own photos, and then you trace those or use those like for your layouts. You might use those. You might trace those as layouts and then finish it in your own style or something. There's some artists who do that, and I have no problem with that because they're shooting the reference, they're framing the shot, everything like that. Let me say I have no problem with any of this, but anyways. And then there is the third level where you're basically just tracing shit that you found online. And as I say very often, All I care about is what it looks like in the final thing. So if I trace something, and I have traced shit because there's some shit you just don't want to draw, or some shit that you don't have time to draw, and you got to draw a bunch of them, and you just don't have time. So you trace it. It's all about how you ink it, how you finish it, and is it immediately noticeable. So that's how I think of reference when I think of like 3 phases of reference. The third one is a little shady because you are tracing other people's stuff. But the first 2 I have absolutely no problems with. If you shoot your own reference and you trace those photos straight up, I have no fucking problem with that because you own those photos, you took those photos. That third step can get a little dicey for me.
I'll agree with that. Now, all right, I guess I should do the same thing and go ahead and... Oh, my window's open. I forgot. Full disclosure, yeah, I use reference. You know, you'll go... A lot of times it's my own stuff, so I use reference photos of myself for...
Right.
Poses that are complicated or just when I'm lazy.
Right. Sexual in nature.
I just edit the naughty bits out.
Right. It doesn't take much editing. It's kind of small.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, there are things like... I would argue that stuff like SketchUp, their purpose is exactly this. That's why this stuff exists and why it's available.
Right.
I know a lot of times, like one of the figures that this dude found was a SketchUp model, and I guess he went to the SketchUp page and found the modeler, and it says like in the description or whatever, yo, this, you can use my model, just give me a shout out or whatever.
Right.
Now, which is totally fair. Maybe I go on Twitter, like if I were a decent person, and once I pull it off, I go on Twitter and I say, yo, so-and-so, hey, thanks for uploading that model. I'm going to use it on this page of Star Wars. Yeah. But you're not getting a credit in the book anywhere. That's nonsensical. That is a bridge too far. Why would you even think that? So I don't know why YouTube guy would even mention that.
Well, he's obviously all about like his page has he has a shitload of subscribers and a lot of views, so it's just like he obviously people seem to be getting upset about it, but who gives a shit? The books are still selling. Like, this is so I want to defend the artist and then not defend the artist. So here's my defense here's my defense of the artist. And again, I didn't even Google to see who drew it. I don't give a shit. I don't read Star Wars comics. Imagine this scenario. Could there be a worse phone call? You're like me, or you're like some up and coming artist, and you just want to get those Marvel DC rates. You want to be famous. You get a phone call from Marvel, and they're like, hey man, we're going to hire you. You're going to work for us. We're going to pay you our standard rate for new guys, which is probably whatever, $250 a page, maybe less, maybe a little more. Who knows what it is? And I don't know what the Marvel rate is. And you're like, fuck yeah. Like you're like fucking running around, jumping up and down, twisting your nipples and stuff. And then they're like, oh, in the book, we want to put you on a Star Wars. Oh. Fuck you. Like, did you see some of those pages in that video? Had like 15 ships and like 30 stormtroopers, and he's getting
that's all it is.
He's getting the same rate as the guy who does a splash page. It's just like a bloody fist with a black background. They're getting the same page rate. You don't get paid by panel. You don't get paid by character. You get paid by page. And there ain't an easy Star Wars page, I would imagine.
No. Like all of that hardcore sci-fi stuff is a nightmare.
Yeah.
So I get it, dude. I get it.
Yeah.
Go to town. You go find whatever you can and use it.
Right.
Because that stuff is just a bummer. And that's what they want to see. These readers buying this thing.
Right.
If it's not right, they're going to throw a bigger shit fit than if they do, if they think it's copied from something.
Yeah, so this guy, Mr. Ladders, his point is not that it's traced. That's not really his point. His point is that it's traced from, like, fan art up modelers or
Correct.
whatever. Like, he wouldn't have a problem if Marvel, DC, and this is where I think he has a point. If Marvel, Disney supplied the models,
If
because they do.
Lucasfilm provides the models to Marvel Comics,
And maybe that's something Marvel should be doing, because I know they do that with, like, I think there's a Quinjet model. There's a Doctor Strange, his habitat. There's a model for that. There's a model for Avengers Mansion,
habitat.
whatever you call it. So comic book companies,
Strange Habitrail.
comic book companies, or I should say editors. Companies is not the right word because they're not all encompassing. Yeah, he keeps saying Marvel, Marvel, Marvel in this video. It's the artist. It's not Marvel. But anyways,
Yes.
they're-
Okay. Yeah.
So
I
editors,
mean, Marvel is
yes.
the editors are the gatekeepers, though.
yes,
They decide what gets through and what's
Right.
not. So ultimately, they are responsible.
right. And editors at companies do have certain models they will send artists because they want,
Yeah.
especially now that the MCU is popular, they want Doctor Strange's Santorum, Torum, Borum to look the same in every comic, and they want Avengers Mansion
Yes,
to look the
on
same.
model is a term I
On
hear
model.
quite often.
Right.
From
So
editors.
this guy has a point that maybe using Joe Schmo's model, who's like a 13-year-old who's just really good at SketchUp, might be a little shady, but it is used all the time. It's just maybe Marvel should, or I keep saying Marvel, maybe Lucasfilm should pay some dude to do official model 3D model renderings of all these things, and then you give those to the artists, you give those to the editors. So yeah. So I guess there's no one's really arguing the fact that you shouldn't trace these models to save time, and because it's impossible to draw a fleet of whatever for whatever your page rate is, or even if it's good page rate, still it could be a great page rate, but unless it's in the thousands of dollars, you don't have time to sit there and draw every ship and every, so again, I see both sides of this argument. This guy just bugged the shit out of me because he kept saying Marvel. Like, there's a dude named Marvel who's like doing all this shit with a magic wand, and it's not just some like poor dude in a studio somewhere. The artists and the colorists on these books are, Jesus, I couldn't imagine.
Yeah. Okay. There's another wrinkle in this, specifically in it being like licensed work. Well, I guess every published comic is a trademarked property. But if this artist is using elements found on the internet to appropriate into his own for hire work, the company that is paying for him to do this and publishing the book also owns the IP on all of these things that are being found on the internet. The stuff that he's finding to use, that's the illegal stuff.
Right. Yeah, it's like the fan prints or whatever. If I drew, not that this would happen, but let's say I drew a totally bitchin' Punisher print, which I did. I have one. It's awesome. Marvel could email me and be like, "Hey, we're going to use this. We're going to use this on a beach towel. And if you don't like it, here's $100.
Sure.
Here's $100. We're going to use it on a beach towel." Because technically they own it. I don't own it.
Yeah.
I'm illegally using an image I created, but technically the minute that I put it out there into the ether, they own it because they own the character. I think that's how, I don't know how shit works, but I would assume that's how shit works.
I think that's how shit works.
Yeah, like, first of all, Eckhart is acting like, hey puppy, Eckhart is acting like the artist and Marvel and Lucasfilm are just like cackling and we got one over on everybody. We took the hard work of this 13-year-old and we were so cool and we're going to stop this kid with our like Gestapo boot or whatever. Like, dude, it is at point A to point B. Work's got to get done. This helps me get my work done. And a 14-year-old kid in Singapore who made this great model, you think he's pissed off because it's in a fucking Poe Dameron comic or something like that? No, he's probably like, oh, that's cool. Like, that's rad. If he would.
Yeah, if anybody even notices.
Right.
The odds that the creator of any of this content
right
seeing this in the book is 1 in 100 million, maybe more.
Yeah, this guy is just his whole content creation side gig, if he is a lawyer, I would imagine this is a side gig, is to like rile people up, because that's how you get likes, and that's how you get clicks.
I don't want to. That really, I don't want to say that argument excuses anything.
Yes,
but
true that.
I mean, this isn't Greg Land using a swimsuit issue image for Psylocke or something.
Right.
You know, I don't know. Would Eckhart's ladder be all bent out of shape if he was tracing frames from any of the movies?
He brings that up at the beginning of the video you sent. He said, "I've talked about this. He said I've talked about in the past, and it's problematic."
Oh, it's problematic, is it?
Right. Yeah.
Okay, you know what's problematic?
Oh yeah.
Grown men bitching on the internet about Star Wars comics.
Right.
It's bad enough that adults go on the interwebs and complain about just Star Wars, like the movies. Check out Mornings with Mando. But to complain about
Mondays with Mando, if you ever paid attention to what we do.
Mondays, sorry. But to complain about a licensed comic book,
right?
Come on, man. Come on. They're all nonsense. Nobody cares about this stuff. I don't want to assume anything. I don't want to put the words in the mouths of anybody involved. But I would bet dollars to donuts that the editor, the writer, the artist, the colorist, the letterer, they don't give a flying fuck about any element of this book. This is something that comes down for corporate, and they say, we're going to do this thing. We need somebody to do it. Unfortunately, you're the one to do it. So just do it.
Yeah. So this guy, Senor Ladders, he really thinks he's doing like a service to the fans, right? He's bringing an injustice to light. I'm not one that has my finger on the pulse of literally anything, but especially comic book fandom. But haven't heard anyone complain about it. Like on my Twitter feeds where everyone loves everything Star Wars, including the comics, I haven't seen one person be like, "Oh, I just wish it would better. I wish it was better if the Star Destroyer looked shittier." But I know the guy. Right. I knew the guy did his best.
That's exactly what the complaint is.
Right. Yeah. So it's like I don't know. So I'm already running out of notes.
Kylo Ren's personal shuttle only has 2 cargo hatches, not 4.
Right.
Idiot.
And if this guy really is a lawyer, unless he's a defense attorney protecting people who have no other recourse,
I'm a lawyer.
Fuck him, because his biggest problem is they're using models, fan art models is what he keeps using the term fan art. Okay, that's fine. That's cool, whatever. His entire video was filled with footage from the Star Wars movies and Star Wars video games, and I didn't see any credit at the end of his YouTube video thanking Lucasfilm or thanking, Ubisoft or whoever the fuck made these games.
Oh, that's fair use, man. It's fair use.
Why? It's because they're a conglomerate and not some 14-year-old making a 3D model somewhere. Like, what's the difference?
Well, that's a law, isn't it? Fair use. There's some. That's how YouTube and everybody gets away with using stuff. Also, I thought that you could use elements in your personal work as long as you changed 51%.
Well, I mean, he was just showing scenes from the movies.
Right. But I'm talking about Star Wars artist guy.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so this is where that leads me right into where I have a problem with this particular artist, whoever he or she is they traced those models exact. Like, they didn't even take out shit that shouldn't have been there. Like, when you see a 3D SketchUp model, it's hard to get like a perfect cylinder sometimes. So you'll see like all the little lines of where it's flat edged, but it's supposed to be round. He'll just trace all those lines.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. The YouTube cunt made sure to point out all of the pieces that shouldn't have been there, like all the artifacts that come from the modeling process, or this idiot kid when he made this drawing got this part wrong, and you can see that idiot artist also used it.
Right. Yeah, like when I use heavy modeling in my work, like that Adventure Van book. Okay, I did not. Spoiler alert! I did not freehand a fucking panel van in every page for a 5-issue series. But what I do is I get a model and then I customize the model. I get a model and then I customize it. So I got that van and then I got rims from another model and I put tires and rims from another model onto the model I found. And then I added like an extra window and shit like that. And then when I ink it, I don't ink every little detail because that's not the kind of art I do. If I put that in there and I inked every single detail with a technical pen, it would stick out like a sore thumb. Like it's just if you're gonna use ref that way, you have to understand that you have to change it enough to where it's not totally noticeable.
Yeah, okay, that's a good point. One of the things I do when I find... odds are, when you go searching on SketchUp, you're not going to find exactly what you need.
Right, you're going to have to combine model. Yeah.
Yeah, so you can even do it there. You know, you could make your own model if you're not, you know, if you're not confident in that or you lack the technical skill or whatever, you don't know how. You're a fucking artist. So when the model goes onto the page, just draw in the pieces that you need to change. It's not a big deal. I'm sure there's an X-Wing model, a decent X-Wing model on SketchUp. You could turn it into Pose X-Wing, no problem, because you're a professional artist. So just, you know, you just bisect the engines and it's fine. Just don't, man.
Right, and I mean, I guess the thought is, because he pointed out some parts where like models were inaccurate and then they made the page inaccurate because no one knew any better. Like, if you're the artist, you're going to get away with whatever you're allowed to get away with, because there's lots of times where you have to make dumb changes for dumb reasons. So it doesn't all fall on the artist, but it all doesn't fall on this mysterious Marvel as a person / who controls everything. I guess what I'm saying is, like, if you're the artist, this is just work for hire. This is your job. You're doing your job. You shouldn't get heat for any of this shit. The people who approve these pages, that's their job. That's who should be coming back to you and being like, hey, man, I don't think that looks like a X-Wing engine. Like, it looks like there's an engine missing in your X-Wing. Like, what's supposed to go there? You know, but the editors aren't artists 99.9% of the time, and they have a ton of books on their to do and to deal with. Like, it's falling through the cracks, but also, who gives a shit? Like,
I don't know how it works. A lot of the time for these licensed properties, the everything, the script, the line art, and everything has to go back through the licensor, so they'll look over the stuff and give the stamp. Since Marvel and Disney and Lucasfilm are all the same company, I wonder if that's happening.
Yeah, that's interesting. I wonder if they are, because my friend Robbie years ago drew a Tech Jansen comic for Oni, and they had to jump through tons of hoops, and they had to get looked at by like 4 people before the editors could finally sign off on it. Yeah, I wonder if this probably has a much looser sort of creative, like, it's more streamlined. I would imagine someone at Lucasfilm is not looking at all these layouts and all these
that would be my guess,
and all these ink
I would
pages.
Imagine there are a lot fewer cooks in the kitchen than there are with something like Scooby-Doo or
right. They're putting their faith in the editors at Marvel. That's basically is what they're doing.
Yeah, towards the end of the video, the little YouTube bitch said that he was going to stop reading the series because it was diminishing his enjoyment of the books, seeing all of this stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's who we're dealing with.
Maybe you should stop other things, too.
Right. Outrage for the sake of outrage. You know, but the thing is also, he's I don't know. I didn't go back and search his YouTube history. I think he's normally like he just discusses Star Trek and fandom stuff in general. So I don't know, but I'll bet you that maybe these videos are way more watched than his other videos. So it's just going to keep going, because you can monetize these videos. Like, once they reach a certain number of views, you make money. So he's making money off this. So it's like this is how monsters are made. Like, now he's going to start, jumping on every little. It's Star Wars fandom is the problem. And now it's creeped into the MCU. Like, I saw this, I tweeted this out the other day when the Black Widow trailer dropped. I was looking through the comments on the YouTube thing, and one guy was like, I didn't even, first of all, apparently Taskmaster's in it, and all I saw was some dude in armor shooting a bow, and I'm like, oh, is there a new Ronin? Like, is Hawkeye in this movie? I don't know. Apparently it's Taskmaster, right? So some dude, first of all, Taskmaster was trending on Twitter. That's the world we live in, that Taskmaster trends on Twitter after the Black Widow trailer drops. And then I saw one guy leave a comment, and he said they didn't even look at the source material. They're not going to get Taskmaster right. And I'm like, we live in a society where there is a dude upset about the on-screen representation of Taskmaster. So fandom is the problem for the most part. Vocal fandom is the problem. And I realize that you and I do a show. It's either called Mornings with Mando or Mondays with Mando, however you pay attention to things. But I think with that, our goal is constructive criticism. We think it could be better, and maybe it should be better. But these people are just like, this guy is just trying to like fire people up into being like, oh, look at the shortcut they're taking. This dude has no clue the small amount of money this guy is making in relation to the output that he's doing. Like, this poor kid who's drawing this comic is probably drawing for 12 hours a day, killing themselves.
Maybe, just maybe, Taskmaster doesn't have the worldwide popularity of Superman because he's not so fucking cool. So maybe there's some room for improvement on Taskmaster.
Yeah, well.
Just a bunch of fucking babies. I'm so tired of the internet. Just, god damn it.
They are a bunch of babies. Like, what? Well, to go back to toot our own horn, plug our own shit, I think you and I really wanted Mandalorian to be good. And that's why.
Yeah, why?
And that's okay.
That's
a different
That's a
discussion.
question,
right?
Like, I just want everything I consume to be good,
right?
I don't want to waste my time on below average stuff,
right? And it's not that it's a Star Wars thing, because I'm not. I've realized recently I'm not that big of a Star Wars fan.
It was because it was a Star Wars thing.
Oh, I just wanted to be good.
Dropped that.
Okay, but you and I, again, we look at it from a thing of like. I feel like maybe it's coming off that we're just talking shit to these creators who make this show, and that's not our intent. I understand all the work that goes into it. I just wish certain decisions were made. I wish certain decisions were made another way for my own personal enjoyment of the show, because other people love it. So
I would go be a cog tomorrow if they called me up and said, "Hey, you want to come work on the show?"
Yeah,
I'd be like, fuck yeah, just whatever.
Right, but this guy, and also we work in a creative industry.
Gina Carano's wardrobe.
Oh yeah, I'll be the tape girl. Whoever has to put the tape wherever it goes to keep things on. I'll be the tape girl. So that's the name of the episode. But I also think we get a little more. We're allowed a little more leeway in criticism because we tell stories for a living, quote unquote. That's how we pay our bills. We're in a similar industry doing a similar thing, telling a story visually. This dude is just like making YouTube videos and apparently lawyering 99% of the time. But I mean, has he ever wrote a story? Has he ever drawn a page? Has he ever directed a short video? Has he ever done anything creative? Or is it just easier for him to be like, this guy's taking a shortcut?
I mean, I don't know. there is something sketchy about
Yes.
Using one creative work in another creative work, because by definition, a created work is an individual work. It's a one of a kind thing, right?
Right.
So no two people are ever going to draw the same exact car the same way, and all of that nonsense. But,
Yeah.
Meh.
Yeah. I mean, should let's see. Should modelers get credit if their models are used in comics? You mentioned earlier, like, that's crazy. I think it depends on how close it is. Like in this instance, this guy was tracing lines on the X-wing that shouldn't be there, so it's obvious that he's using it. You and I have seen comics in the past that it looks like they just threw a filter onto the model, like they didn't even ink it. They just, or I've seen in the past comic books that have backgrounds from video game screenshots, stuff like that. If you're not changing it even like a tiny little bit, then I think maybe they should be getting credit for it. Like, I don't know. If I had to get something, yeah,
I could entertain that argument, sure.
If I got hired for a book and I had to model something specific, like a certain ship or something like that, sure, and you pay someone to model it, what's wrong with putting that credit in there? Like, the USS Leviathan modeled by so and so. Like, there's nothing really wrong with that. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. No. But if you're changing it, like you said, if you're changing it to fit your own style and it's unrecognizable, then does the credit really need to? I don't know, because I guess you would credit a layout artist. So technically, if you're using models from somebody,
I don't know.
Your layout.
I guess if you contracted someone, or someone was nice enough to build the models for you specifically, I can see a credit for that. I know that Sean Murphy had commissioned somebody to build a model of the motorcycle in that Remender book. The name escapes me at the moment.
Tokyo
Ghost. Okay. I don't know. Did he get a credit somewhere in the book? I don't know. I don't know. It's I can see half of readership going one way and half going the other way. I don't know. I don't. It's an argument that doesn't need to be had, I don't think.
Yes. That's the point. Like, if it wasn't brought up, like, did this guy, Lady Ladders, did he
Dick Fart?
Did he see a outcry for this on his feed and is like, I should talk about this? No, he saw it and it personally bothered him, so he's like, oh, let me tell everybody about this.
Yeah, I don't know why he's taking it so personally. He feels insulted by this somehow.
Yeah, get somebody. I'm trying to think of a great artist a really good artist who doesn't draw realistic at all. Put him on that book, and you're going to drop the book just like you're going to drop it over your perceived slight that everything is like these things are traced. Like, trying to think, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if he opened the comic and he's like, this doesn't look like an X-wing, he would then have a video about how this guy can't draw a fucking X-wing. Like, he would yes.
Yeah, if Tim Sale's drawing this book, he's not buying it.
Or if Frank Miller was drawing it, he's like, oh, I love Frank Miller's stuff, but he surely doesn't know what a Star Destroyer looks like.
Yeah, that's really ruining my enjoyment of the story.
Right. Fucking dum-dums. Yeah, that's just... I guess it all comes down to dum-dums, and does it really bother you? Like, look inside yourself. If you're the dude leaving the comments, because there's lots of comments, it has like 10,000 thumbs up. If you're one of the dudes who's agreeing with this guy...
I left a thumbs down. I don't like doing that either. Like, I don't like people voicing their displeasure about things, because if you don't like something, just don't consume it, But I had to do it.
Right. Again, people are going to be like, you guys do a show about The Mandalorian and you don't like it. You know what? We committed to doing the show. I think if you and I just talked about it every week and we didn't commit to doing the show, No,
Yeah.
we wouldn't start the show. We started the show thinking
if you don't like us complaining about it, don't listen to it.
Don't listen to it. But you should still listen. Just because I still want the ad revenue, so just play it and then turn your volume all the way down. Just do that. And go ahead and loop it. Just play it for like 24 hours nonstop on a loop. Yeah, it's the fake outrage of the 1%, and that's the world we live in where everyone has a voice. So he's upset about it. Somehow he gets 100,000 views on this video. Like, it just doesn't make sense. It boggles my mind.
Well, yeah. Okay. So it's the 1% that bitch about things. There's another 1% that cares about the stuff they bitch about. And the 98% just doesn't listen and doesn't care.
And that's how it should be, except the voice of the 1% now is so loud because of the world we live in.
It's because of the apathy of the other 98%.
Right. Yeah, if everyone started commenting like, no one cares about it, dude, stop talking about it, blah, blah. But people who don't like it like us, we're just like, we just...
But in order to do that, you have to give it a page view. So...
Yeah.
That sucks.
Yeah, it's just... It's pointless and petty. That's basically my final thoughts on it. It's just...
Yeah. This is not a problem.
Right, and if you're going to stop reading it because that's your biggest problem, you probably weren't too into the story anyways, because I'm still watching The Mandalorian, so it's like, I'm willing to sacrifice some of my time.
Yeah,
hoping
what are you
things will
doing
pick
reading
up.
Star Wars comics? I mean,
And I also think it's... no, I'm not going to say that on there. That's okay. I just think... I think it's low-hanging fruit. Right? Because this wasn't a comic drawn by Jim Lee. It wasn't a comic drawn by, one of the top whatever artists. I bet you if someone like that, that's the thing, I don't even know who the biggest artists in comics are anymore. But if someone like a Jim Lee or a Todd McFarlane or again, I have no idea, came out and did a Star Wars one-shot.
Tony Daniel.
Yeah, they did a Star Wars one-shot, and they did the exact same thing. This guy would be like, look how great this looks. Like, look how awesome this is.
Yeah, did he have any criticisms of the figures? I don't recall during any of this.
No, it was only
talk about any other aspect of the book.
Right, it was only the ships in this particular comic. He did have some problems with I don't know who the artist was, but he did have at the beginning of the video he did like I mentioned earlier, he did complain about tracing some stills from the movies. But again, these clowns who read these books, sorry if you guys read these comics and I just called you a clown, they want Luke to look like Luke.
Yes,
they want Poe to look like Poe. Yes.
We've seen what Star Wars fans says when Star Wars doesn't function like Star Wars, This isn't real Star Wars.
The dorks are out of control, man. Geeks just, they take and take and take.
My Luke doesn't drink milk out of monster tits. Fuck off.
All right. So I'm glad that we had, when you sent me this link and I just kind of read it and I didn't look at it, I thought you were going to go the other way on it. So I'm glad that we both think this dude is thumbs down.
I would like everybody to go and search out this YouTube video and give it a thumbs down.
Yeah, like I said, I'll throw the link. I already copied the link into my notes, so I'll throw the link in the show notes. Everyone can, I wonder because the listeners that we do have, a lot of them are hardcore comic guys. So I wonder, does it bother you guys? Does it really bother you guys if something is too on model that it almost seems unnatural?
Yeah, because we've got both, right? We've got readers and we've also got comic pros.
Yeah.
Yeah, so who are we talking to? Does it bother readership to see this stuff? Or does it bother other artists to use this stuff or see it being used?
The thing is I don't really think it bothers anybody unless it's... I don't ever hear any outrage when it's a vehicle, a ship or something like that, or a building or something like that. The outrage comes when you're tracing photographs of people, which I think is like a bridge too far for a lot of creators. And I agree with that. And then, but one thing I will point out, all the examples this guy showed, it didn't look out of place with the character art. Like, it didn't look like the characters didn't live in this world that was inhabited by these traced ships. The art worked well. It all blended together. It all was very sort of not super photorealistic, but kind of more realistic style art.
Yeah.
So
okay.
it didn't seem out of place. It would seem out of place for me if I drew that X-wing and then I drew a Poe Dameron without tracing Oscar Isaac's beautiful face. It would be jarring. But
Yes,
for
okay,
the artist
yeah.
who did this book, it seemed to flow fine.
This is the worst kind of internet pissant. This is the guy that gets offended for other people.
Yes, when they didn't ask for it.
Yeah.
He was an elected leader of this group.
Oh, it's terrible.
Eckhart's Ladder is making money off this comic series, and his outrage over it. I was upset with him when we started, and now I'm more. That's your go-to thing, is you get me more outraged about shit. Like you really, if I'm on the fence about something, by the end of talking to you for like an hour,
It is my superpower.
I just want to straight up murk a fool now. Like, let's keep going.
I just make people realize just how much they don't like something.
Yeah.
Oh, you like The Last Jedi? Let's talk for a bit.
Yeah, but it's funny because now I feel like you're coming around to The Last Jedi because at least it was different. Like, you're willing to give it credit for at least trying something out of the box.
But yeah, that's the only thing though. Is Ryan Johnson had an agenda and he totally accomplished his agenda.
Right.
It just so happens that it was awful.
Well, sure. Yeah. I mean, mileage may vary. I don't know if I'd use the term awful, but I was less than. I wonder if I never knew you, I bet you I would love that movie. If I didn't know you at all and we never spoke, I bet you I would still like Last Jedi.
Yeah, probably.
But yeah, it's I'd like a lot of things if I never.
What else do you like? Maybe
nothing.
I should do a show and talk to people about what they like.
and then shit on it. Yeah, they tell you what they like. They give you all the reasons they like it, and then they mute their mic, and then you just talk for like 20 minutes, and then you go back to them. Yeah. When I criticize something, I just want it to be better. This guy was criticizing something that couldn't look more realistic. So what does he want? What is his end goal? He wants it to look super realistic, but he doesn't want these poor 14-year-old modelers to be taken advantage of. Like,
yeah, I guess at a point I hadn't touched on is that this is production art, which is deadline art. Shit needs to get done. If it's going to take me another 4 hours to draw out all of these Star Destroyers in perspective, I could bet the editor is going to say, no, just go and just use that. They'll rubber stamp the shit out of this stuff.
Sure.
Because they already own it. Again, it's not the Greg Land thing. It's not, we need this now, so here's this picture we found on the internet of this lady. Just trace this. No, we already own the rights to all of this stuff.
right.
So, yeah, you're not doing anything wrong, really. They're in the wrong.
Yeah, by the very strictest sense of it, yeah. The second they upload that model, they've uploaded a copyrighted design that they don't own. By the strictest sense of that.
Now,
Yeah,
I guess I don't know what the legalities are. If you're not making money off of it, I mean, it's not being reproduced for profit. I don't know how that works. But
Right.
if Lucasfilm, I would imagine they would be within their legal rights to send, so-and-so a letter about their SketchUp model and just say, yo, take it down.
Yeah, just like they'd be in their rights to send Eckhart's Ladder a letter and being like, hey, man, you didn't edit this footage at all. You're just putting up Star Wars footage on your channel, and you're profiting off of it. So we want a license fee. I wish that would happen. See, that's the thing. I think the biggest thing that upsets me, we got to wrap this up because we're just repeating things, but the biggest thing that upsets me is this dude is a lawyer. So again, unless he's doing pro bono work and he's defending the indigent and he's, righting wrongs, if he's just a regular attorney who's just like suing people and like representing counties when they prosecute and shit like that, sorry, this is a very personal thing for me. If you're that kind of lawyer and and this is what you're outraged about, you're a goddamn hypocrite, you and your Yoda ornament that you don't that's not licensed and...
He's a lawyer like Lionel Hutz is the lawyer.
I don't get that reference.
Lionel Hutz? The lawyer on The Simpsons?
I don't watch that show.
But your card says no money down. Oh, that's a typo. No, comma, money down. This bar association logo shouldn't be here either.
Yeah, if it's a cartoon and it doesn't have superheroes in it, I ain't interested.
Oh, weak.
I guess I keep saying he made money off of it, but maybe he didn't monetize it, so maybe he didn't. But he has a Patreon, so at some point he's monetizing this faux outrage nonsense. Also, let's end on this thought. We're all adults. It's time to stop thinking of Star Wars, and this goes for myself too. Time to stop thinking of Star Wars as some sort of religion and something that should be better than everything else, and just realize it is just a stories for children. Is all it is. We're all caught up in golden books, in the golden books from our youth that aren't going to get any better, and they're all children's books and they're all children's stories, and we have way too much. Like, we're going to look back on our generation. Our kids are going to look back on our generation and be like, "What the hell?" You know, like our grandparents fought and died for the freedom of the world, and we're bitching about Star Wars.
Yeah, ISIS has got us right where they want us.
4 more episodes left of Mondays with Mando. All right, dude, I'm done. You done? How was your hang on.
I'm still working through it.
How was your garden of hose in Belgium?
I don't know. I don't want to disappoint the recommender, but it's not my jam.
No? Does it taste like Lunchables ham?
No, I don't get that. A lot of that's on the nose from wheat beers, I think. I will say I do get quite a bit of the orange peel as advertised on the bottle. Unfortunately, it's still a wheat beer, and you can only put so much lipstick on that pig.
Yeah, don't they use wheat beers for all their flavored beers because they're just bland and it's like the chicken of beers. Like you just put whatever else you want on it, and that's what...
It's like pork. Yeah.
No, chicken. Pork's fine. But yeah, so it's like every raspberry beer you have is a raspberry wheat. Every orange wit is an orange wheat. Yeah, it's like... Don't go talking shit about the other white meat. Yeah, so it's just... Is it offensive, or is it just... It does nothing. It's like forgettable.
Okay. Should I judge this against other wheat beers?
No, you should compare thee to a Coors Light.
Oh, Jesus.
Which is also forgettable and unoffensive.
Okay, this is light years better than Coors Light.
All right, beer snob.
My gut tells me 2.5, but I'm gonna round it up to a 3.
But your heart says a 3.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
Coward. Santan Brewing Company Sex Panther Double Chocolate Porter. Porter brewed with chocolate. A double chocolate porter that's sensually crafted with Colonel Rosewood cocoa, chocolate malt, and lots of love. The addition of white wheat gives Sex Panther a smooth, creamy head.
I feel like that's this show. Sensually crafted.
That's right. I can't tell you how good the head was today because I didn't pour it into a glass. It's fine. It's good. It's better than the thing from New Belgium I had earlier in the week. I had their Nitro Cold Brew beer. Way better than that. You definitely get the chocolate flavor, although they say it's brewed with real cocoa, but all chocolate beers taste like chemical chocolate.
Yeah.
So it has that sort of little tinge, almost like a metallic tinge to everything.
Yeah.
But it's good. I'm going to give it it's a porter that's stronger than a lot of other porters. I feel like almost 7%. So I'm going to give it 3.5 on the bump. Also, I've met the owner twice. I've gotten plenty of free drinks from Santan because of connections that we have. So let's give it a 3.5. You get the TIG Show bump because you've given us free beer in the past.
See how that works? Yeah.
See how that works? Arizona breweries?
Yeah. We're influencers.
I don't know if people noticed, but we did our Arizona beer series. We didn't really talk too much smack about all those beers that we got for free, did we? No, we didn't. So let's get our little bicycles later,
wink,
everyone,
wink.
And give us some beer. Yeah, so I'm going to give mine 3.5. You gave yours 2.5. This has been The Illustrious Gentleman. Scott, you know what to do at this point.
Adios, Scotto.
Bye-bye. TIGShow.com.